What kind of document is this?
Worksheet.
Oh, you're smart. You can read. What's the purpose of the trial balance?
Make sure debits and credits equal.
Yay! That makes me happy. What happens if your debits and credits do not equal?
Problem.
Stop and find and fix it. Like, really, it is that important. If these two numbers here from your trial balance do not equal, do not do anything else on the worksheet. Because you'll be like, oh, yeah, I'll go back and fix it. But it really becomes more of a problem, especially when you're first learning worksheets to understand how the numbers and everything relate. Okay, so our column that we're working on today is our adjustment column. And then the purpose of the adjustment column, and that's what I think is the most important part when we're doing our worksheet, is you understand the purpose for each column. Okay, so our adjustments purpose is to make sure debits and credits equal. Our adjustment column is to go through and account for stuff we've used up. Now, right now, we are on our service business organized as a sole proprietorship, which means it's the easiest business out there to do financial records for. That's why we start with it. The only thing that we adjust for are supplies. And my example that I gave you is, at the beginning of the fiscal period, I bought 10 cases of paper. 6 months later, a year later, am I going to have 10 cases of paper still? No. I'm going to have used it up. Okay? So what the business has to do is they have to go through and they look at their supplies and they get a new value of what they have in supplies. Okay? It's kind of like doing inventory. Have you ever seen a business do inventory before? Yeah? Like, I've walked through Kohl's at different times when they have all of these tags on there and it says counted, not counted. Or at Don's, they hire people to come in and they actually go through and count how many jars of pickles they have of each different type, how many things of mayonnaise, because they need to have a physical count. Why do businesses need to do inventory? Sold. What else? How much they need to buy? What you have left over? How about theft? Is that going to give them if items were stolen? Or breakage, damage? So the aisle I hated to go down the most when my kids were little was the pickle aisle. Pickle.
Like the other day, I had like a gorgeous, and I dropped it, and it went everywhere.
Yeah, because my kids like pickles. So they're going to go grab a jar of pickles, and they'll like this, and then they'll be like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm afraid they're going to drop a jar of pickles. And then you have glass everywhere, and then you got the pickle juice, and then you have the pickles rolling all over. It never happened, but that was like my parent, like, don't touch the pickles. And that, I'm sure it does happen, right? You know, kids are going to pick things up. It's going to break, whatever's going to happen. I don't know what's going on with this. So businesses have to go through, every business is going to have in their computer system what they think they should have. The Thunder Zone has that. We say we should have 33 tumbler mugs. And then we do inventory twice a year for the Thunder Zone, once in the fall before everything gets going, and then we do another one right around the change of semester for us to count to see, make sure everything's accounted for. Would it be easy for a student back there to steal something and walk out? Do we need to know if that's happening? Yes, that's why we do inventory. Now, some businesses will also have other security measures in place so that people can't steal. What would that be? Cameras. Those tags, sometimes I walk through them walking in and they go off, and I'm like, I don't know what I got on me that makes them go off. Does anyone else have that happen to them? No? Okay. So they have all of those security measures in place to account for or to help to make sure that people are not taking items from them. So right now, our simplest business, we're going to deal with our supplies. They go through and count, and they say, okay, we say on the books, I have $1,000 worth of supplies. I now go and count, and when I count, I have $300 worth of supplies. Okay? The most common mistake on this assignment is in your adjustments column. Okay, so based on those numbers, $1,000 would be in my trial balance because that's what it is on the books that I say I have. How much did I say when I went through and counted I have? Remember the number I said? 300. I always try to keep easy math. So how much did I use up? 700. 700 goes in the adjustment column, because the adjustments need to be how much we used. The new value of supplies is going to end up going on the balance sheet column. Remember when I first explained it? Numbers will either go on the income statement or the balance sheet, and they go on there based on the account classification. Supplies is an assets. Assets have a debit normal balance statement that we've already worked on and did T-account quizzes on. So if it has a debit normal balance, we need to go from 1,000 on our trial balance to 300 on our balance sheet, and the difference then would be 700. What students tend to do with their adjustment information is it gives them a number for adjustments, and they put that number in the adjustment column. That's wrong. You have to do the math to figure out how much is used up. You can get your worksheet to come out completely fine. Debits and credits equal, you get a net income, but because you didn't calculate your adjustments right, it will be the wrong number. So it's one of those spots where you can still get it to come out, but it might be the wrong number associated with it. So when we do our adjustments, we have to put in there how much we use up in the adjustment column. So I'm going to make supplies go down, so supplies would have to be credited. But we also know in accounting we can't have a credit without a debit. So that is why we have an account called supplies expense. Supplies expense will be debited for how much we used. Same thing will hold true for insurance. We know that we have prepaid insurance. Prepaid insurance means I pay now and it's good for the next 6 months, the next year, whatever it is. At the end of the fiscal period, we go through and say, okay, if I just paid insurance of $1,200 and we just went through a month, it's going to go down by $100 every month. Would you agree? So then I would have to then lower my prepaid insurance by $100. So I would do an adjustment of $100 as a credit, and then I also have an insurance expense account that I would be debiting. So right now we only have 2 adjustments that we're going to be doing. Guys up top, how many adjustments do you guys have today? But a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10? Only 10 on that one. That one's not as long. But sometimes they have, like, for example, 22 adjustments that need to be done. As your business gets bigger, you have more things you have to account for. But right now, we keep it simple. The concept stays the same, just have to apply it to a bigger type of business. So, let's do our 2 adjustments, shall we? Yes, let's rock it. So, analyze the following adjustment information into debit and credit parts. Record the adjustments on the worksheets. So, adjustment information, February 28th. Supplies on hand, $325. Okay. This is where the problem is. $325, is that how much we have or how much we used? That's how much we have. $325 does not go in the adjustment column. Yes. So, supplies has a balance here of $456. So I'm going to take $456 and I'm going to subtract $325. So we used up $131 worth of supplies. Agreed? So I'm going to put that supplies as a credit. Now, when you do it supplies as a credit, then you automatically go, okay, here's my credit, give me my debit. And I'm going to go down here to supplies expense. I'm going to do supplies expense as a debit of $131. Same thing's going to hold true when I took a look at my value of prepaid insurance. It says value of prepaid insurance. On my trial balance, it says I had, at the beginning of my fiscal period, I had $750. Now I have $500. How much did I use? $250. So I'm going to go ahead and credit prepaid insurance, $250. And then I'm going to debit insurance expense, $250. Now, I need the total for my adjustment columns. It's 2 numbers. Anyone got the number? Oh, you guys are good at the math today. You want fire? Fire? Check answer. Whoop, whoop. I got it right. Anyone else? Anyone else? Bueller? Bueller? Nice. Try the adjustment column.